I love our state. I'll tell you why. We're a mix. We're a multicultural thing. Like, my African American friends in California, they call me dog. Hey, dog. How are you, dog? My Latino friends call me ese. My white friends call me buddy. My Middle Eastern friends call me infidel. And my Indian friends call me every day to tell me I owe the IRS money.
Welcome to your online coffee break, where we discuss bite-sized topics that inspire, educate, and entertain. Here's your host, a software innovator, award-winning marketer, and astronomy and space buff, Chuck Fields.
Hello, thanks for joining me today for your online coffee break. Our guest today is award-winning comedian Nazareth. Nazareth has been featured on Comedy Central, Dry Bar Comedy, ABC Family, NBC, CBS, and TBN. He toured with the Righteous Brothers, The Temptations, and worked with Mr. B.B. King and Tim Conway, to name a few. He's also the founder of Laughter for All, a nonprofit organization that helps churches and organizations reach their community using family-friendly entertainment and comedy.
Online coffee break.
It is all about food. We love to eat out. It's just like Valentine's Day, it's not about love. It's about going out and eating. Mother's Day, let's go out and eat. Father's Day, let's eat. Jesus was born, let's go eat. Guess what your family gonna be doing 5 minutes after they put you under? Yes, they're gonna eat. In your memory, they will eat. It's all about food. Our foreign policy is based on food. We'll never have a war with China, Italy, or Mexico. Why not? They have good food. Russia, we're always worried about the Russians. You know why? We don't know what they eat.
Nazareth, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Well,
I see you're into space, huh?
Yeah, I'm a space cadet, that's for sure. But I'm also into comedy, and I caught your show on Dry Bar Comedy recently and just fell in love with it. And I love your story. I love, it's not the traditional story of you're born ready to be a comedian. I mean, you had this really interesting story about where you're born and going to become an engineer and then working with a comedian. I don't want to give your entire life story here, but can you give kind of a brief synopsis of just how you started, where you started all?
Well, I started in the plethora, in my wife Placentia, not the plethora, the placentia, in fact. There
Not
was a
that far
plethora
back.
of water. It was the plethora of water. I was born in Nazareth, Israel. That's how I got the name, It's like a family tradition to name you after the city in my family. So
Yeah.
I have a brother, Waikiki, another brother, Albuquerque, my sister, Buffalo, the whole family. But I was born in the Holy Land. 3 years later, we moved to Kuwait. We came from a Greek Orthodox Christian background, Palestinian Christian background, and moved to Kuwait, lived in Kuwait until I finished high school and all that. Back then in Kuwait, it was the engineering, like the IT in the last 10 years here or 20 years in America. It was engineering, buildings and all that. So
Yeah.
both of my brothers are engineers, and I wanted to study to be an electrical engineer. That's kind of shocking, but I went to Toledo, Ohio, out of the whole place is like, my parents.
I'm actually from Ohio, so I got that. I was really thrilled about
we're
that.
both Buckeyes. What part of Ohio are you from?
I was from the Cincinnati area.
Cincinnati. Oh, down the nice area. I was up near, in Toledo and then Port Clinton and Cleveland area. That up there. But I went to school in Toledo. Nothing exciting, I was in the Holy Land and people kept saying Holy Toledo. So I thought, hey, from Holy Land to Holy Toledo, nothing holy there. So after school, moved to Kuwait, to the California. My aunt lived in
Yeah.
Huntington Beach, California. So we moved
Nice.
to California and, just started, after working for three jobs actually to take care of my parents who moved in because my dad lost his work. So I was working 7 days a week, 3 years in a row, no break, just trying to survive and make money. And then somehow I decided Chuck to run a marathon. I said, I want to run a marathon. I didn't know why. I was smoking at the time, wasn't a follower of Jesus. I was just a Christian by name.
Yes.
I went and practiced for 2 miles and said, okay, I run 2 miles this year. Next year, I run another two. So I went in, and that day I started running. And after 2 miles, I was like, I need a cigarette. But then people say, keep running. And I kept running, got to 5 miles, got to, then by 10 miles, my lung gave up. But I said, I'm just, hey, yeah, I'm going to die anyway. Might as well just finish it. So I kept running. And then I got to the 20 some mile, 22. And a homeless lady, she goes, honey, don't stop now. You're going to make it. And I did. And I sat there, Chuck, with all the endorphin that ever you can ever have, more than any cocaine I've ever done. The high was there, and my toes were even looking at me. They're like looking the other way. I asked myself this, and I'd love anybody who's watching or listening to ask themselves, what do I want to do in life that if I never get paid for it, I would still do it to the best of my ability? And to me, it was making people laugh, and just the joy, that few seconds that people laugh, that joy that makes them forget about their problems, their fears, and they start laughing. I said, I want to do that. Next day, I signed up at a comedy club in the Valley, in Encino, California, in the Valley in California. The day after that, I was at the Comedy Store. The day after that, I was at the Improv. And from that point on, I'd been doing comedy since, and professionally, after that.
See, I think that's so incredible. And again, to take that first move, I mean, what a major turning point, right? I mean, you
It
decide
is.
I'm going to go and I'm going to do comedy. And I kind of love that story, how that started. But also, I also love, especially last several years. I mean, you do clean comedy now. I know it didn't start out that way, but you had another turning point, and I can
I
relate to that
did.
too. I'm a Christian. I'd love to hear, kind of what changed your direction in comedy, where you're like enjoying this, this is what I want to do, but then you're like, I want to do this. I want to serve God.
It was at a point, first, right away, the first year of my comedy, Chuck, things were starting happening. It was not normal. I mean, I got a management. I'm even traveling, doing comedy clubs in Arizona and Vegas. I'm doing the Aladdin in Vegas. I mean, things that started happening. NBC was looking into doing a sitcom called Fish Out of Water, a Middle Eastern Man in America. And everything was great. I worked with Chris Rock and Adam Sandler and
Right.
Kevin James, all these guys,
Wow.
and it was great. But then one day, a comedian friend of mine invited me to church. So I went to the Southern Baptist Church in Tustin, California, walked into the church thinking God hates me. He is mad at me because my heart was always about me, selfish me. What about me? Even when I helped people, it was about me. So I went to church. I'm like, okay, if hell is going to be so hot, maybe going to church will make it less, the flame will be less. And then I'm sitting there actually, it's a funny story. I had long hair, believe it or not. Back then I had long hair, and I walked in, and the deacon said, you can't come in. You got to put your hair behind under your shirt or jacket, or you can sit back with what do you call it? The tax collectors, the ushers. So I sat in the back next with the ushers, and then when the pastor gave the message, I don't know what happened when I heard that Jesus loves me, as a plan for my life. It is by grace through faith I've been saved. It's a gift from God. I ran forward, gave my life to Christ. Prayed with the pastor, and then the next day, Monday morning, I called my manager and I said, I'm quitting comedy. And after 256 F words, he was convinced that I really mean it. And he goes, why? I said, I can't honor God that way. I can't honor God. He goes, you've always been a Christian, Ned. I said, no, there's a different thing between being Christian by name and Christian that really believe what Jesus did for me.
So
So I
true.
quit. And a week later, my pastor goes, Naz, can we, professional comedian, can we do a comedy show at the church? I said, no, you can't. He goes, why not? I said, it's from the devil, man. He goes, no, God created humor, but Satan perverted it. And he said, you can honor God that way. And I did. I started doing comedy. And so God changed the trajectory of my life at that point.
See, isn't that amazing? I love how Jesus does that, how God does that. And that led you to, I think, believe you founded your organization, Laughter for All. That's what that
Yes.
organization is about. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, what happened, Chuck, is in the beginning, my material was, I mean, I cleaned up my act. So God sent me through Chuck Colson's ministry to prisons every day to be able to share the gospel. I mean, I went to over 200 some yards, prison yards, death row, and I was trying my material. And, instead of being in a club or what we call a one-nighter in the world, like a bar, where you try your new material and see if it works, I was in prisons, and those inmates in
Oh,
death row, they don't have to laugh if they don't like it. So I really crafted my act, for not for the church, for the clean act in the prison. Believe it or not. Then I started doing youth events, telling them, hey, listen, I was there. I had this fame coming. I had this sitcom coming. I was making money. I was having all the fun. The fans would do anything I want. But guess what? There was an emptiness that only Christ filled. So I
mm,
started doing that. And then 7 years ago, when churches started going into, oh, let's just do a bridging event. Let's just do something. You don't want to talk about Jesus. We just want to fit in and be seeker friendly. I'm not against seeker friendly church,
mhm.
but what I'm saying is I felt I am tight. Like I can't share my testimony. I can't let people know, that they have an opportunity tonight to give their life to Christ.
Yes.
So I prayed about it, and I just felt the Lord saying, why don't you do your own events? And I'm like, how am I going to do that? So God said, just take the step, put your foot in the Jordan, and I'll take care of it. So I started looking around, and I know when God wants us to do something, we have to do it big. So I looked at a
Yes.
stadium instead of a small church, and I said, okay, Lord. So I went there, talked to them, and said, hey, I want to rent this stadium to do a comedy show. They said, how much are the tickets? I go, free. I don't want to charge people to come in. They go, how are you going to make money? I said, I don't know. I don't care, but I'll pay you. They said, okay, you're stupid enough. We'll give it to you for half price. I said, okay. So I went and I prayed about it. And I asked some of my friends who I said, hey, I'm going to share Jesus through comedy. You've known me for years. That's what I do everywhere. They said, okay, we'll give you the money for it. And I had Crystal Lewis. I had Jackie Velasquez. I had Dennis Agagenius, comedians, rappers, everything. I bring them to the stadium to perform for people, and I pay every entertainer. And at the end, I do my comedy, and then ask people if they want to give their life to Christ to come to the field. And when they come to the field, there's local pastors who gonna minister to them and disciple them at their churches. So we've done probably, I don't know, we did even 4 stadium events. We've done Vegas. We've done so many places. So praise God. The COVID stopped us from
Yeah.
doing live events, but the message still that we still want to continue doing that.
See, I think it's wonderful too. And you've done so many wonderful things to serve God. You've helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for crisis pregnancy centers and other nonprofits around the United States. But you're also director for a ministry that supports Christians in the Gaza Strip. And you're co-founder of a ministry that reaches out to thousands of refugees fleeing Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and Iran. Wow. I mean, tell us just a little bit more about that, about what motivated you to do that, and how are those going right now?
Whenever you're doing something, I wanted to use my platform. I had a lot of fans. I had a lot of people who believe in me. I have a network of people, Christians who are business people and support. I said, my wife is from the Gaza Strip. When my dad passed away, my dad was from the Gaza Strip, so he had a property. When he passed away, I went to change the property into, my mom's name, and boom, that day I meet my wife to be. I've been praying for a wife. I saw her, asked her to marry me that day. It's a wonderful story. They can listen to it on
It is
YouTube and all
awesome.
that.
I've heard that.
But
Yes.
so, my wife said, the pastor who led me to Christ is the only evangelical Protestant church in the Gaza, and he led me to Christ, and we were serving there and stuff. And I found out that pastor was in Pasadena studying at Fuller Seminary. So I asked him, I said, hey, I want to meet with you. What are you doing? And he goes, I'm getting my PhD. I want to go back to Gaza and be able to encourage the believers and reach people for Jesus in this Hamas area. And I said, okay, well, I'm on the board. So we support that. We raise money and to be able to do that. And now they're extended to Jordan and other refugees. Now in 2009, I go to Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, and we're standing out there by the Arabic Fellowship.
Mhm.
And a man walked up and he said, can you guys teach me some Arabic? Because there's some Iraqis coming because of the war, and I want to be able to witness to them. And it was like, shame on us. I speak the language. The people with me, a couple of people with me speak the language, said, let's go and do something for the refugees. So we started giving them free furniture. Then we found out they need to learn English. We
Mm.
helped them with ESL classes. We helped them find a job. We helped them learn how to computers. And right now, since the pandemic started, we served in the last year $400,000 worth of food that we
Wow.
delivered to people's homes. And to me, you know what? I don't care. I don't decide who comes to this country legally or not legally, but they're here, and my job is to share Jesus with them. I go to prison, and the prisoner is not innocent, but I still share Jesus with them. If you're in a refugee, or and even most of the ones, almost 99% of the ones we work with are legal refugees that come
Mhm.
here. And we decide who's we don't decide that, we don't vet them, but when they come here, we love to help them. We serve over 1,500 refugees every year, so
Wow.
praise God for that. And I'm a professional comedian, and the more that excites me to go more and do more shows, so we're able to kind of support these kind of works.
See, I think it's wonderful. And then some ways that I'm really impressed that people can reach out to you. You have Live with Naz on YouTube and Facebook, I believe. And then you also do a podcast called Laughter for All. Can you just tell us a little bit more about those?
Yeah, when the pandemic started, I was coming from Hawaii doing a conference called Increase, and then they said we're shutting the country, and I'm sitting there. Okay, I said, okay, Lord, I can make people laugh, I can encourage people, but we can't go outside. What do we do? So we went online and said, okay, we'll just do. They said 2 weeks. Remember, it was 2 weeks that we're gonna shut the country down. So I
Yes.
started doing a show on Facebook for a good comedian Nazareth that says, okay, for an hour, I'm gonna make people laugh and then encourage them and inspire them. And then after 2 weeks, 14 hours of comedy, I'm like, okay, I don't have any material left. What do we do? People still want the show. They look forward to it. And people were like, I'm depressed, and really hurting. That's the only
Yeah.
hour of the day that I feel good and I'm encouraged. So we started asking people questions, like funny questions, like, hey, um, for example, like what's the worst name for a plumbing business, for example? And people come up with Farrah Fawcett or the number one and the number two business, stuff like that. And people are funny. And then at the end, we say, hey, do you have any prayers? And people say, hey, I'm going through chemo right now. Hey, my mom is in a home and I can't see her because of COVID. Hey, I think I'm afraid to get sick. Can you pray for me? And people start praying for another. And now tonight will be show number 272, because every weeknight we're on, and just people are waiting for it. We have about 80 or 90 people that are joining us every night, and then we have 1,000 who view it later. So praise God, that's Live with Naz. It's our laughter for all way to reach people while we can reach them live. And then the podcast was started before the pandemic, called
Mhm.
Laughter for All Podcast. And we not only comedians, but I have people like yourself who are experts in a certain thing. We had Josh McDowell, we had Lee Strobel, we had models, we had Mr. America, we had Mrs. America or Miss
Oh,
America too, that used to be. Then we have people like a funeral home director. I have an accountant that talks about taxes. Whatever I feel like people can help people, I'll bring them on the show and have them share their ideas. This last, what do you call it? Last Tuesday, I had, this is funny. No, I did not blank out. I had a pastor that was talking about leadership, and then I completely blanked out who was my guest last Tuesday. It's funny. This happens.
that
The
happens to me all
older
the
you
time.
get, any information you don't use in the last 2 weeks, you're not going to remember it.
There's only so much
So
RAM. I'm a computer nerd, so I only have so
I,
much RAM in my brain. Otherwise, it goes out the door.
it's funny, and you have to decide what you're gonna delete, because you don't like, okay, all my thoughts about my mother-in-law, I'm gonna take them out, I'm gonna delete them, I'm gonna put new okay, only the firstborn kid I'm gonna remember us, the other two and the third child I'm not gonna remember how they were born and what they did when they were little, because I don't have enough memory. That-
I'm with you there. But I still think it's incredible. I mean, I do like the Live with Naz. I think that's wonderful too. And again, I want to just encourage folks out there to your Facebook page, Comedian Nazareth, YouTube as well.
Comedian Nazareth, yes, or Facebook or wherever. Or they can go Nazareth USA or comediannazareth.com or Comedian Nazareth on Facebook or YouTube. And, they can enjoy the show. They can enjoy the podcast. They can hear, we do funny stuff on Instagram and on TikTok and stuff like that, just to make people laugh and be encouraged.
Well, I appreciate you making us all laugh, and just want to wish you the best, and want to thank you for sharing your humor with us today. Thanks so much, Nazareth. It's been a pleasure talking.
Thank you for what you do, Chuck. God bless you. Thank you so much for having me. Okay.
My pleasure. God bless you too.
Online coffee break.
Wow, I really enjoyed my conversation with Nazareth today. Hope you did too. If you'd like to find out more about him, just go to his website at nazarethusa.com. I want to thank Nazareth for joining us today. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today too. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We always love your feedback. If you'd like to learn more, just go to our website at onlinecoffeebreak.com. Of course, we'd love it if you've subscribed, so smash that subscribe button or hit the like. We'd certainly appreciate it. At any rate, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. God bless.